Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 5th episode of X's and O's for the 2019 fall semester. Our 3rd episode in a row. How about that?
We're extending our personal best. Let's go.
Our personal best since we did
semester.
for this semester,
Yeah.
Personal best. Later on the show, we're obviously going to be continuing our recap NFL Week 8. I almost said 6 there. And
yeah, something like that.
We'll recap, we'll continue our coverage on the World Series. But first, North Dakota State versus South Dakota State.
Yes.
Probably the biggest game for NDSU
in years. Like for a regular season game.
For a regular season game. But not only that, 1 versus 3 Dakota market game. College game day was there. We're going to start with that. Isaac, you were in Brookings, South Dakota for the game and college game day.
Yes.
Woke up at 5 a.m. to get down there in time.
Yep.
Take me through college game day.
So, yeah, it's just an amazing experience. And, we'll actually have some video playing of my experience there. But, really, South Dakota State, my first impression, it's NDSU fans tend to bag on the university a little bit, but I mean, they really did a great job with this event. So many people showed up for this event. I'm actually kind of surprised that more people didn't, but it was really a tremendous atmosphere. You just kind of had to be there to fully experience it. All the flags, all the signs, the pageantry of the event. Yes, Pat McAfee was the guest picker. It's so much fun to experience. It felt like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And, the fact that as well that, they made this event so, they made this event so fan-oriented. I mean, that is their job. But, I mean, just the way that everything was laid out, and the fact that they were also to have this on their own campus, which I think is important. NDSU, when they hosted this all those years ago, they couldn't do it on campus because on campus there isn't really a big enough lot.
A big enough area.
There really isn't a big enough area. So SDSU having that college green area over by the Campanile on campus, beautiful, beautiful setting for an event like that, and just. It was a rowdy event the entire time in between commercial breaks. The producers were throwing out T-shirts to people, hyping people up, playing music, getting everybody involved. It was so amazing to see firsthand. I mean, we've watched that show for many years now, and the fact that I was able to see that in person, I will never be able to replicate that. At least it felt like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. So yeah, I was fully privileged to be able to be there that morning, even though it did require waking up at 4:45 in the morning the day of to drive down to Brookings.
Well, seems like it was well worth it though.
Yeah,
I would have joined you if I didn't have to work.
I have to say yes, and I apologize as well.
It's
I did
okay.
kind of make fun of you on Twitter when you said you were jealous that you weren't in Brookings. I immediately responded to your tweet.
It was a little
with
rude.
A picture of where I was, but I guess that was kind of my way of hi.
I mean, why not? Just go for it.
Yeah.
But we're gonna go ahead and go into the actual game. College game day was amazing. The game itself was just as amazing.
If
Isaac,
not
you were
better,
on the
really.
field for that game, getting highlights. Take me through what were you experiencing.
So, okay. This was my first time actually shooting football outside with a camera like I was holding. I have done an MSUM football game using just a DSLR camera, but I was not aware of how big of a deal the sun was going to be in this game, and we'll actually have some video of this as well, kind of overlaying while we're talking generally about this game, but really as well, just, an unbelievable atmosphere. That's what they're playing for, the Dakota marker right there, and, really, for the game, for the hype that this game got to start out, super duper slow start, and we could also bring the natural sound on that down as well as we're discussing this. But just an electric environment. They said at Dana J. Dykehouse Stadium this was a sellout game, and the crowd, the SDSU crowd, fully into it the entire game. But the game didn't start out all that nicely. I mean, it was 6-3 at halftime. Just nothing but field goals. It was really, for the most part, boring football. The Bison did get a few nice plays in there, but they did have to, SDSU rather, they were up at halftime despite their starting quarterback, Jabari Gibbs, leaving the game with an injury. So this field goal right here was all the Bison got in the first half. They did not look very good in terms of, an offensive standpoint, but the fact that right here, I think this is the end of the half, Chase Vinatieri missed a field goal
it was a bad
33
miss,
yards out.
He shanked the crap out of that one.
And I'm on the sideline thinking, does NDSU really think that they're going to ice Chase Vinatieri? But then they start the second half with that long touchdown for Ty Brooks, and that really got the whole thing started. And you could sense the momentum was shifting, especially here with this forced fumble by Spencer Wagee, and that led to another touchdown. But, I mean, as well, I just couldn't believe, the fact that that NDSU came out this ready to play in the second half. We've seen them sputter out the gate in some of these games of late, but at least to start the third quarter, they were all over SDSU.
It was really, I was at Herd and Horns watching the game with some friends, and I was just, it was so competitive. There wasn't a lot of scoring. I thought it was going to be a fairly high-scoring game, but it was still really.
You even said 42-35 last week.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I thought. I thought it was going to be a really high-scoring game, but honestly, just as we go through these highlights here, it's just so they're just so locked in defensively. It's really impressive to see. It was just each team was holding each other to field goals. It was just really impressive.
Michael Tutsi got that last sack on that last highlight. They did tie the game using their third string quarterback right here on a little zone read. This would tie the game, and that they after that second touchdown to Ben Ellefson, they went for 2 and didn't get it. So had that worked, then that touchdown would have only brought them within 1, and that was a weird play, that Dimitri Williams halfback pass, but then it immediately led to the season-saving interception by Josh Hayes, his first interception of the season, and it couldn't have come at a better time than this play, the iconic 4th and 1, own 29-yard line, and Adam Cofield says, "See you later," to the SDSU defense. An unbelievable seismic shift, because if NDSU didn't get that, this game was probably going to be over in the other direction.
Yeah. So
after that happened, everybody, there's a bit, and also with that "Let's Go Bison" chant we showed on the screen, there was an opportunity at the start of the fourth quarter. SDSU tried to get a whole crowd chant started with SDSU, but then "Let's Go Bison" erupted in the stadium on that one sideline, just completely drowning out everyone else in blue and yellow. So that was a tremendous way to start the fourth quarter. The Bison would hang on, and pandemonium ensues. The Rock coming back to Fargo. We got a chance to, some students at least had a chance to see the Dakota marker on display here at the Memorial Union on Thursday before our show, and you actually got a picture with it. It's a lot heavier than it looks, right?
Absolutely. 75 pounds is a lot heavier than you think it is.
And Jackson Brown in that highlight there, number 3, kind of said the exact same thing. It's really heavy. You don't expect it.
Yeah.
But I guess when, you're in that euphoric situation, it just feels weightless.
Oh,
you know, and really this game was just unbelievable. Probably one of the best regular season games in college football. I mean,
100%.
All of college football. I mean, this had it all. It really had it all. It was a tremendous experience, and I was so glad to have a firsthand experience for that.
Yeah, honestly, there was just a really good game. Watching it as a fan, that Adam Cofield touchdown, Herd and Horns just erupted when he broke it loose, and it got even louder once number 12 for SDSU missed that diving last-ditch attempt to tackle him, try and get the shoestrings a little bit. But it was just unbelievable.
And I actually want to break this down for you people at home. Now, I want to cue this play up here. Adam Cofield, I want to give you some context. Again, 4th and 1 at your own 29-yard. Stop right there. Right there. Take a look at the interior defensive line. The guy that was lined up behind the center, he's on his knees. He's expecting a quarterback run up the middle. There's a guy on his left that also has his head down. There's another guy on his right that has his head down. Another guy on his left that has his head down. So on the left side of your picture, there are 3 players of NDSU blocking 2 South Dakota State Jackrabbits. And so already there's a numbers advantage there because NDSU wants to run this ball to the right. They're thinking up the middle. Now let's play it right here. Now stop it right here. what you might have missed, number 44 in white getting number 7, getting a kick-out block on number 7, a huge block, and then we'll just play the rest of this thing out. Number 12 is going to miss Adam Cofield in the open field. He just can't run him down. That is the most iconic play for NDSU to have in the regular season in the last several years.
Yeah, 100%. I would argue it's even more iconic than Carson Wentz's touchdown in the national championship game versus Illinois State.
Although that had a little more implication. However, yes.
I think this 71-yard touchdown run from Adam Cofield rivals that one pretty well.
4th and 1 on your own 29-yard line on the road in a tie game. If you don't get this first down, they're already in field goal range. But personally, I liked the call because you came on the road for one thing only, that was to win. You don't play scared when you're on the road. You don't play conservatively on the road. You don't punt the ball here. You don't want to give SDSU a chance to run the clock down and kick a game-winning field goal. Mm-hmm. You move the ball at any cost. I mean, so the fact that they were able to get that to work, there was also a very long delay. People kept calling timeouts because this is a really important play.
Oh, yeah.
And it needed a lot of attention. So the fact that this was the result of it, it was an unbelievable shift in mood in the stadium because everybody in blue and yellow is going crazy, but everybody in green and gold took over that noise once Cofield broke it. So that was just an unbelievable moment, and I had to break that down for everybody here at home.
Overall, we've been saying this whole segment, that game was just incredible. It was unbelievable. Probably the best college football game of the year. You can make a case that it would be game of the year in college football.
At least in the FCS.
At least in the FCS.
It was already going to be game of the year in the FCS, regardless of the result.
I think it could even rival some FBS rivalries, honestly.
For sure.
It could be a top 5 game of the year. The only way I could see a game like this being topped in the FCS is if North Dakota State and South Dakota State meet each other in Frisco.
Or if NDSU would happen to lose or something on a similar play like that, maybe, or in like a playoff type atmosphere, or really anything like that in a playoff atmosphere where there's highly ranked teams that are playing each other with a lot at stake. This game had a lot at stake because I think the winner of this game was going to be seeded in the playoffs and maybe get home field in the playoffs. The loser was probably going to have to go on the road for a semifinal game, more than likely.
Yeah. But I think just obviously playoff implications whenever NDSU and South Dakota State play each other in playoffs, especially when it's in the Fargo Dome, it just cranks it up to another level. But I think the true icing on the cake in this rivalry would be for them to finally meet in Frisco for the national championship.
There was an opportunity for it to happen, I think, 2 years ago.
There have been a couple of opportunities. Well,
especially 2 years ago in 2017 when they were on opposite sides of the brackets.
And then they both lost.
NDSU's on this side of the bracket, and SDSU was on this side of the bracket. And SDSU, all they had to do was not turn the ball over 10 times against James Madison, and that would have happened. Yeah. But otherwise, I guess that is the way it goes. NDSU and James Madison played another classic in that championship game that year to avenge their loss the prior year. Mm-hmm. So yeah, at this point in the season, it's almost November. We can start firmly talking about playoffs. I just can't wait for it personally.
Oh, I'm so excited. There's nothing quite like the Fargo Dome during the regular season, but it's ramped up to like 20 when it's playoff time because
the games matter.
Games matter. The fans are louder. The student section is revved up and ready to go. Mm-hmm. It could rival any major college sports experience.
Oh man, really? If you haven't been to the Dome, try to make it to a playoff game if you can fork over the money.
Or know some students and maybe they can get you a ticket.
Maybe.
So
to recap, the long and short of it, last weekend was a lot of fun. Not just for the people that were in the venue, but for the people watching as well. A lot of us here in Bison Nation definitely thankful for that result last weekend.
Fantastic game.
Definitely great exposure for the FCS as the season is coming to an end. That does it for this jam-packed first part of X's and O's episode 5. When we come back, we are bringing back What Did We Say?
The NDSU Bookstore, where every true fan and alum goes to get their pride on. Gear up with a variety of high-quality t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, and more. Made by top-of-the-line brands like Under Armour, Nike, and CI Sport to help you show off your Bison pride. The NDSU Bookstore has everything you need in your two favorite colors, green and gold.
I remember the moment.
I'll never forget that moment.
That changed my life.
At that moment, it hit me. This is why I joined the Guard. We're soldiers, always ready to protect our country. But we've also got communities. Family, friends, neighbors who count on us. I couldn't believe it. I just saved a life. Somebody from my hometown.
See what it means to be a citizen soldier at NationalGuard.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are now going to move into our recap of NFL Week 8. Obviously, no Monday Night Football has been played yet, but we're going to recap every other game that's happened so far.
For the most part, some of it, yeah.
Starting with the Thursday Night Football matchup, Minnesota Vikings versus Washington Redskins. Not as high scoring as people maybe thought it was going to be, but still an overall nice game for the Minnesota Vikings.
And I want to introduce this with a clip from our second show that was aired about a month ago. I had a comment about the Vikings at that point in time and their schedule up ahead. So let's roll that right now for you. And the thing is, if C.J. Ham is getting more targets than Diggs and Thielen combined, there is a serious
if you're not aware, C.J. Ham is the fullback on the Vikings.
He is a fullback, wears number 30 in your program. So the defense is still playing well. There's a very winnable 4-game stretch upcoming for the Vikings where they can easily win at least 3 of those games, if not maybe all 4, although one of them is against the Philadelphia Eagles at US Bank Stadium, who just beat the Green Bay Packers on Thursday night and did so in pretty impressive fashion to me. So that will be something to look out for moving forward. So that was filmed after the Vikings lost to the Bears and fell to 2-2. I'm sensing something. Do you want to go? You want to go on?
You were right.
Yeah.
I'm congratulating you.
Yeah, because I don't
know.
I
got my Dodgers prediction right. You got your Vikings winning 3 or 4 games.
And I knew that it was going to be at least possible for that to happen. Actually executing that was the next part. And Kirk Cousins over the last month has been unbelievable. Really, like when you actually look at the numbers and put any maybe personal biases aside, objectively, Kirk Cousins has been a tremendous quarterback for Minnesota over the last 4 games.
He's been doing what he's been paid to do, and he's playing well against beatable teams. That's what you got to do when you're in the NFL and you're an NFL quarterback. Beat the easy teams and play well to win against the tougher teams.
Right.
He has only 1 interception in these last 4 games. And the only reason he had that interception was because it bounced off
Diggs was on the sideline and just bounced off his hands.
Bounced off his hands, hit his helmet, right into
Anderson Dejo of the Eagles.
Dejo.
So so really, and you can also some may say, well, the Eagles didn't have that great of a secondary. Well, they still have everybody else on that team, and they were above 500. That's a narrative that people have been pushing against Kirk Cousins, and then the fact that they beat the Lions in a big division game, putting up 42 points.
The Lions have been a lot better than I expected them to be. I thought they were going to be decent and like mediocre to decent, but they've been actually playing really well.
They have 3.5 wins right now and are currently 3rd in the NFC North. And then the Washington Redskins, they may have had a bad record and maybe they have a subpar defense, but anybody in the NFL can win on any given day. So, really, Washington, they didn't even score a touchdown.
Yeah.
So, and Kirk Cousins did what he had to do. He didn't turn the ball. He didn't turn the ball over. I don't think he did.
No.
If I remember correctly.
No,
Stephon Diggs fumbled the ball on that first series after that long catch and run. I don't recall any other Viking turnover.
I think that might have been the only turnover for the Vikings.
So,
and Kirk Cousins wins on prime time.
That's another narrative people have been pushing. So, hey, at least in the last month, a lot of narratives have been dispelled. Now the Vikings have to win next week against the Kansas City Chiefs, who may or may not have Patrick Mahomes healthy for that game. So that'll be interesting to see. Very interesting. I would add a very to that interesting to see how that all unfolds with the Vikings coming in with a better record than the Kansas City Chiefs in that game.
Yeah.
Kansas City just lost to Green Bay in primetime. with Matt Moore at quarterback. Who knows if Mahomes, after he suffered that serious looking injury, at least against Denver, that might have kept him out for a few games, how that will all unfold.
It'll be interesting because he has been practicing. He's almost superhuman. He's been practicing quite a lot, actually, since he dislocated his knee. There is a chance he can come back. I don't think he will because you got to be careful with knee injuries like that.
Yeah.
And I want him to come back once he's fully healthy. But it would be a really good test for the Minnesota Vikings to have the reigning NFL MVP in his home turf. I think it'd be a really good test for that defense.
In the next 4 games, I think, for the Vikings, apart from a game against the Denver Broncos at home, are all looking rather tough.
Following the Chiefs game, they got Dallas, Sunday Night Football.
Yep. After the Broncos game, then I'm pretty sure it's Seattle on Monday Night Football.
And that's always tough. Last year, the Vikings played the Seattle on Monday Night Football, and it did not go well.
It cost John DeFilippo his job.
Yeah, it did. And it was just an ugly game. Going to Seattle is tough on its own right, but prime time and it's just a weird offensive scheme with John DeFilippo at the time. It was weird, but hopefully things are much better.
Yep, and it kind of seems like the play calling's hitting their stride as well, utilizing the strengths of Kirk Cousins. It only took them about a season and a half to figure out what those strengths are. So that's at least the What Did We Say segment of the NFL. Let's jump back to some more general talk. We'll come back to What Did We Say in just a little bit. But the rest of the league for Week 8, now we're already 8 weeks in. We're about halfway through the season.
It's flying by.
Right, exactly. So what were some of the other things we wanted to at least discuss on
I
this
wanted
week?
to take a minute or so here to talk about the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears. I know probably a lot of you aren't watching. It's okay. We're a small show. But I have 3 words for you. You are done. Over. Your season's done. You're not making the playoffs. I will put $5 on that because that's all I have right now.
All right.
I'll give Isaac $5 if the Bears make the playoffs. Do you want to know why?
I don't want to win that, but yeah.
I mean, it's money. But anyway, the Bears, your offense is straight doo-doo. No disrespect. Mitchell Trubisky has not progressed. Matt Nagy, he was iffy with the media following that game against the Chargers, especially deciding to take a knee at the end of the game to run out the clock and make it a little bit further field goal for Pinheiro, who missed a 33-yarder, and then he went to 42. I don't understand why you wouldn't try and run the ball, make it easier for him.
Like a 10-yard out or something like that.
And he was getting testy with the media. He was being quite rude to them, as a matter of fact. And it was just really kind of weird to see, especially after a guy who was reigning NFL Coach of the Year. It was just really weird. But I think at this point in the season, halfway through the season, it's not looking good for the Bears. I think they're done.
The Bears are literally the most bipolar team I think I've seen in the NFL in quite some time. I mean, yesterday against LA,
they out-chargered the Chargers.
The Bears looked fine for some of the game, but then for the other parts of the game, they looked very much not fine.
There were multiple times where they were inside the 10 and even inside the 5, and they did not score a touchdown, had to settle for field goals. That happened multiple times throughout the game against the Chargers. And when you out-charger the Los Angeles Chargers against them, that's just not a good look. And I'm just brutally honest here. Chicago Bears, you're done.
It's not looking good. They're in last place in a really good NFC North.
It's such a waste against such a talented defense too.
I can't believe that. I really cannot believe that.
Totally messing up the quarterback situation. No disrespect to Mitchell Trubisky because he's obviously a decent quarterback, but he'll never be at the level that Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson are at. Both 2 quarterbacks who are stars in this league and were taken after Mitchell Trubisky.
So, congratulations, Chicago. You got a mess on your hands. Real quick, I at least wanted to talk about, I apologize for potentially sleeping on the San Francisco 49ers. They put quite the whooping on Carolina at home yesterday. They're still undefeated. They finally proved that they could dismantle, not only win against, but dismantle a really good team yesterday. Even though Cam Newton's still out for Carolina, Kyle Allen's been playing really well, though. They made him look very average yesterday. And also, let's also put the Cleveland Browns officially to bed as well. that game in Foxborough yesterday, not good. Not good.
If I remember correctly, last episode, I called into question Freddie Kitchens' decision-making. It was brought to light against that New England game because it was late in the game, I believe. It was a 4th and 11. The Browns were lining up to punt, and they got called for a false start, moved them back 5 yards. So what do you decide to do? Go for it on 4th and 16 on your own 30, and then get sacked and then turn over on downs.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about
That is
Browns. That
terrible.
sounds about Browns to
That is
me.
like so frustrating because the Browns have done so much to try and improve their team and trying to prove what they've been trying to build something here, and they have talent. It's just not working out because it's the Browns. Seriously, I don't know how does this happen all the time. The Browns could have loads of talent on their team, and they could still probably go 8-8.
They probably still could, and they have a relatively soft second half of the schedule, but it's really hard to do
Baker
that at
has
this
far
point
more
in the
picks
year.
than he has touchdown passes.
Yeah,
It's
so that's...
And Nick Chubb, he's been great he's shown flashes of greatness, but then New England, he had like 2 fumbles, and Baker threw a pick on a pitch.
Yeah.
It was just so...
It was supposed to go to Jarvis Landry, and
Oh,
that
my
went right into the
goodness.
arms of Lawrence Guy. So, bad day for Cleveland yesterday. The Indianapolis Colts are currently second in the AFC, actually, believe it or not. After all
would've
the
thought?
bad PR they got with Andrew Luck retiring and the way that all unfolded, they're 5-2.
Who would've thought?
They're
I mean,
second place in the AFC behind the Patriots.
I've always kind of liked Jacoby Brissett. I thought when he played when Tom Brady was suspended and then Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt, I thought he played well. It was under a Bill Belichick offense, so a lot of quarterbacks are going to succeed with that. But Jacoby Brissett's been playing great. Frank Wright's a great coach. The Colts have a good team. Just the culture shock of and your franchise quarterback that took over for Peyton freaking Manning is just suddenly gone before he's 30.
That would I
shocking.
definitely get the season ticket holder's perspective on that.
Yeah.
Why would we pay money to, see not Andrew Luck quarterback your team? But,
It's been surprising. I'm really impressed with how the Colts have handled this adversity.
And then also related to injury news, Drew Brees returned yesterday.
And he played great.
Yep.
He did what
and
Drew
the
Brees
Saints
does.
are still a one-loss team. Green Bay beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They still have just one loss on their
Packers
season.
finally have a fully healthy Aaron Rodgers, and it's honestly quite scary to see.
So that's pretty much the mid-season update. Let's transition back then to what did we say. Let's talk about the World Series that could potentially be wrapping up within the next day or so. We are currently 5 games through. Let's go back and revisit our predictions that we did last week before the World Series. If I had to make a pick, Astros in 5 or 6.
I would agree with that, honestly.
5 or 6.
I think the Nationals take a game or two, but ultimately I think the Astros are just way too talented, have better, the biggest issue with the Nationals is their bullpen. They swept the Cardinals in the NLCS because they didn't have to rely on their bullpen all that much. All their starting pitchers went 7 innings plus. And when you do that, that's a recipe for success.
Yeah, that's hard to replicate in the biggest stage.
If the Nationals struggle with their starting pitching and they have to go to their bullpen early, they're going to be in big trouble.
I'd love to be wrong, though.
Yeah.
Totally love to be wrong.
Prove us wrong, Nationals.
The Astros just won 2 years ago. It would be an incredible story if Washington were to win. Somehow, I can't rationalize it at the moment. I'm going to say 5, actually. Instead of 5 or 6, I'll say 5. So it didn't ultimately pan out in 5, but still give the Nationals a ton of credit for handling the road environment they did in games 1 and 2.
This is a really interesting series, the way it started out. Nationals go into Houston, a hostile environment, a rowdy crowd, punch Houston in the mouth.
Yep.
That's really all they did. They just showed out. And
Wham, a homer. Wham, another homer.
Yeah, Juan Soto being electric, being Juan Soto. It was really just impressive to see. And then next 3 games go to Washington, and sure, Houston took that punch in the face in the first couple rounds, and then they came back with a mean right hook.
With 3 right hooks.
3 right hooks to be exact.
To be exact. So,
and now they have the series lead.
And it shifts back then to Houston for Game 6 and potentially 7. Is your prediction going to hold up? Because my prediction of 5 is already done.
I had the Astros in 6. I officially said that last week. I hope I'm right because I like being right. But
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't, honestly? But it all depends on what happens for the Nationals with their pitching rotation, because Max Scherzer was supposed to start Game 5. He was scratched because of back spasms and neck spasms. I don't see why there wouldn't be a chance that he starts Game 6, and then that could push back Justin Verlander or Steven Strasburg for Game 7 if it gets to Game 7. But Scherzer's got to be Scherzer if the Nationals want to win that game. He went 5 innings and threw well over 100 pitches in Game 1. And honestly, it all comes down to that starting pitching. As I said previously, the biggest weakness for the Nationals is their bullpen. And if they have to go to it early, the Astros were feasting on the bullpen in Games 4 and 5. So it'll be really, really tough if the Nationals have to go to their bullpen early in games.
To wrap this up quickly, I will say the Astros win tomorrow night to win the series in 6 in front of their home fans. Sorry, Washington Nationals, as much as I would like to see you win.
As much as a lot of people would.
So that does it for this week of X's and O's. Episode number 5. We thank you for tuning in, and we hope to see you for our 4th episode in a row next week.